flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn. It's a new day, it's a new life. And I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom on the tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.
As that old song says, "Oh, Atlanta, I hear you calling." We have got it live here this evening at the Atlanta Motor Speedway for the Jam Printing and Promotions Truck Series, live here on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network with the Goat Locker Truck Series here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. My favorite track on the whole sim, with just, great history, great tradition, fantastic racing. But this is the new build, folks. This is the track of Atlanta where you're going to see the super speedway type of racing. Welcome to the Jam Printing and Promotions Truck Series. My name is Jake Reeves, the redneck announcer, as they have been calling me here lately. Got Blake Lothian up here in the booth, as well as Dean Biggles, also, or Dean Hopton, that is, giving us these awesome cameras, all the graphics, all the sights and sounds that you're going to see here tonight. And Blake, going into it, as we've got guys out here running qualifying right now, last week, Brandon Evans put on a classic at Kansas, was able to get the win. You see it right there. Joe Yates, one of those guys that was back a little bit in the points. We'll talk about that here in a second. And Eddie Smith actually qualified in that race for the first time all season long. Usually he starts in the back, but decided to qualify, ended up getting a third place finish. That's the results, and we'll take a look at the points coming up on your screen. And right now, Evans and Jeremy Gardner, those guys is going to be way up there in the points. There you see it. This is the final race in the regular season. See Jake Ellingson right there on that cut line with Alex Cruz, who is actually fastest in practice, right behind it right there. So, Blake, just for everybody at home, tell us about Atlanta Motor Speedway, because like I said, this is my favorite track on the sim, and I hope it's yours as well.
I don't blame you for that being your favorite super speedway, favorite track on the service. This is obviously a 1.5 miles now D-shaped super speedway. It's a fast super speedway. We have the dog leg in the middle of it. I'm sorry, the tri-oval in the middle of it, and it's easy to lose your way in the draft in there, and you're going to be watching some trucks maybe hit the wall in the middle of it.
Yeah, this place right here is absolutely treacherous, and you know, believe it or not, Blake, there has been a talk with the community in the iRacing Sims, or just in iRacing in general. There's been a lot of talk about this track, and you know, there's drivers that love it. You know, that they're tickled to death that there is a super speedway portion here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and then a lot of them actually don't like this right here. They like it back with the old style where the track is beat all to hell pretty much, with just worn out, where you got to drive it in the corner. You got to save your tires. But be honest with you, Blake, this track right here, it can also be a tire or a cheese grater on the tires, if you will, here at this track.
Oh, 100%. And I was just about to bring up, in the second race, I believe last year, we saw the Xfinity race. The field actually strung out a tad bit. And I believe that might be what we start seeing in the near future with this track getting sandblasted every year while it's off season. We're going to start seeing trucks and cars getting strung out more, and it's going to slowly start going back to that old Atlanta field.
Honestly, I mean, you know me, Blake. I love the super speedway aspect, but I also do love how old Atlanta always put on some fantastic races. Yeah, you had to save your tires. You had to, I mean, you had to literally just run a comfortable pace. You couldn't go out there full throttle like these guys are going to do here tonight. You just had to ease off the throttle. Just like I've said before, have that egg up under the pedal and go ahead and just be able to try to be half throttle or just carry momentum through the corner to be able to get going. But as mentioned before, these guys right here, this is the same thing as it is at Talladega and Daytona. It's not a yellow line that's on the bottom of the track. It's that red and white line right there on the bottom of the racetrack. These guys are not going to be allowed to go below the red line to improve their position. If they do, they will get black flag. Now, let's just say a wreck happens. They can go anywhere they want. They can go all the way down to the inside wall, the outside wall, wherever they've got to go to avoid that accident. That out of bounds line is completely out the door. But and also, even if they improve their position while they're trying to miss that wreck, nothing's going to happen to them. But during racing conditions, they got to stay above that red line. And here we go. Looks like we got the grid lined up, and check it out. Jamie Mullins will be on the front row. Brandon Evans going to be starting right beside of him. Evans won last week at Kansas. There is the starting lineup, Mullins and Evans. Got James Kaufman back there. He's around that cut line. He's got to be careful with how everything's going to go tonight. And Brandon Wallace will be in that second row. Brandon Wallace, I don't believe we've actually seen him in previous races this season. So he will be right there on the outside of row number 2. Going to have Eddie Smith 2 weeks in a row deciding to put down a qualifying lap. So that Victoria's Secret Toyota Tundra be starting in the inside of the top 5, and then right beside him, Jeremy Gardner, who leads everybody in the series with 3 wins this season. He will be on the outside of row number 3. Joe Yates, he finished second last week at Kansas, looking to carry some momentum and be able to get himself some momentum as they are getting ready for a playoff run. And Patrick Drabick will start right beside of him in that 8th spot. Charles Fiskus will be in that 9th spot with Alex Cruz on the outside looking in, trying to get into these playoffs. Currently will start in that 10th spot. Jake Ellingson, talked about him. He's right on that cut line, 12 points, or 13 points, I should say, above Alex Cruz on that cut line. He will start 11th. And James Goshen, he's already got a win. He won at Richmond earlier this season. He's just waiting for the playoffs to get his playoff run going. Jamie Vargas, he will be back here in the 13th spot with Doug Ellingson sitting in 14th. Daniel Krikil will be 15th. Trevor McManus is going to start the back, did not take a lap, so he will be 16th. And right behind them, the tail end Charlie on the field will be Kermit Henney in the 17th spot. So 17 trucks going to take the green here tonight for the Jam Printing and Promotions Truck Series here at Atlanta. And I mean, you know, Blake, I mean, this right here, this is what we love to see. We love to see the super speedway racing, but especially a race at the end of the regular season. Everybody's got a shot to win this right here. It's not about throttle management, nothing like that. These guys right here, they're going to be duking it out for 100 laps here tonight.
100%, 100 laps, 154 miles tonight, 17 trucks. Let's see who's the best and who can end up making it into the playoffs tonight.
And like we said, Jamie Mullins will be on the front row with Brandon Evans, waiting for the pace truck to pull off as you see him going through turn 3 and 4. Going to be a dogfight for 100 laps here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We want to thank everyone for tuning in this evening, as we already got a comment in the YouTube chat. Ray Ellington already saying, good evening, gentlemen. Well, good evening to you, and good evening to everybody tuning in as we are green here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Jamie Mullins does not get a good start. Evans almost beat him to the line right at the start of the race. Evans drops right down to the bottom of the racetrack, right in front of Jamie Mullins. And then right behind him is a side-by-side battle with James Kaufman and Brandon Wallace for that third spot.
And side-by-side for the first time down the back straightaway. I got to bring up that move by Brandon D. Evans. I think that was a power move to show your strength early. Show that you can lead that inside lane and take command of this race early.
Yeah, and he might have had a little bit of an agreement with Jamie Mullins. Mullins maybe lift off the gas a little bit and try to let him down. That way Evans can get on the bottom, because up top you can carry some momentum, and you're seeing it right now. Here comes Brandon Wallace getting the shove from Jeremy Gardner. We talked about Gardner. He is just ready to rock and roll and get in these playoffs, and check it out. Here we go. Shades of Brad Keselowski in some super speedway racing. Evans went from the bottom, jumped back up to the top, now jumps back down to the bottom, right in front of Jamie Mullins. So Wallace is going to have to figure something out. If Evans keeps on doing that double lane blocking right there, Wallace is going to have to find a different way to try to get around Evans as they go into turn 1. Will Evans jump up? No, he will not. Now side-by-side battle for the lead. It's Evans and Wallace here in Atlanta.
Side-by-side off of 2. Now down the back straightaway we go. Looks like the inside lane might be a little bit, or actually now the outside lane's more packed up together. Let's see if he's going to clear him into turn number 3.
And he has cleared him, and now he's going to try to think about maybe jumping back down to the bottom, but Evans is going to get the run. So Wallace will jump back up in front of Jeremy Gardner. And check it out right here. I mean, you got 4 drivers right here, nose to tail packed up, big time on this top side. Now a 5th driver is going to jump up there. That's James Goshen in the 85. He's going to jump up there behind Alex Cruz in the 5. But Wallace getting a shove. I mean, damn near big time shove right here from Jeremy Gardner, shoving him into turn 3. That's going to clear 1 and 2. Now Wallace jumps down to the bottom. Here comes Gardner up top for the lead.
It's side-by-side for the race lead, a little pushing through the tri-oval. One of the most sketchy parts where your truck is not quite balanced in the tri-oval and getting yourself pushed. It lifts off the rear end of the truck. It looks really unstable, so that's a sketchy spot to be pushing early in this race.
Very sketchy, and Evans doesn't care. He's going to give Wallace a little shot right here going into turn 3. Check out Patrick Drabik right back here behind Jeremy Gardner, trying to give him a little bit of a shove going into 3. Nothing will make of it, but Wallace going to lead him another lap right here. And as we mentioned, that red and white line down there on the bottom of the racetrack, these guys cannot go below that to improve their position. So these guys are going to be very, very careful to not jump down there. And I mean, honestly, I mean, you know, Blake, I mean, your first mindset is to jump down there. As here goes Evans, he tries to jump up top for the lead. Gardner's going to go down and leave him hung out to dry. So Evans is going to be up there with Drabik. Gardner right behind Wallace. But Blake, like I was talking about, these guys, they want to go down there to that apron, but they got to keep it in their mind not to jump down there because they don't want to get no black flag.
100%. Just going to be trying to manage yourself all race, trying to make sure you do not go down beneath that red and yellow line to advance your position. Side by side for the lead here, 39 of Evans. And I was really, really surprised that Gardner jumped down to the inside lane. I figured with that momentum he was making on that outside lane, he'd stay up there. But now look at this, side by side for the lead, back to the start-finish line once more.
And Gardner's still shoving Wallace right there in the quad oval as you mentioned right there, Blake. Oh, a little bit of door banging almost going on right here into turn one. Wallace and Evans. Evans tried to come down, tried to pull the side draft, and like I said, almost give him a little bit of a door bang right there. But Patrick Vick all up in the back bumper of Evans, trying to shove him into three, seeing if he can get this top lane back rolling. As you see everybody shoot by just as quick as anything, Wallace jumps up to the top. Evans is going to slam him right in his tailgate. That will leave the door wide open for Jeremy Gardner as here comes Gardner down on the bottom.
Looks like that move by Gardner is going to pay off. Taking that inside lane a few laps back. It looks like it's going to work out. He's going to take the lead and nearly turned off of turn number 2, but now with a giant run, the 99 of Wallace trying to charge to the lead into turn number 3.
The storm is happening right here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I mean, these guys are shoving each other big time very early. Evans, whoa, thought about a little 3 wide right there, but he backed out of it. Almost put Wallace up on the top side. That's going to kill the momentum on the top side. And Garner and Mullins, who started on the pole, has drifted back just a little bit, but now has shot himself back up here. And check out James Kaufman right here in the 25. Started in the 3rd spot, drifted back just a little bit. Now back up here where he started. Here he comes, right behind Mullins, and now Evans jumps to the bottom. Wallace is losing a lot of help up there on that top side.
And Wallace with a huge run in the 1 and 2 this time by. Looks like he's about even with the 3rd truck in lane on the inside. Gonna be watching this run here on the backstretch.
Garner still has the lead. He is not going to look like he's not going to jump up and try to make that block. Here comes Wallace. Big, very loose over in 3 and 4. Almost spun himself out. Alex Cruz in the 5 has to check up. Eddie Smith has to check up. Everybody behind him. Jake Ellingson, everybody had to check up to not run over Patrick Drabik. That's going to completely kill this top side as there is nobody up there helping. Kaufman's going to be able to get clear. He's going to go to 3rd, and we know Evans, how strong and how aggressive he is. If he can get clear of that 99, I would not doubt one bit he's going to jump up to the top. But right now, the front 3 are single file, all clear, but here comes Wallace back on the top side.
And watch Mullins, I'm thinking he's going to want to jump to the outside. He was looking at it for the past few laps. Let's watch to see if he does. Looks like he's trying. He was thinking about it, but we'll stay in line here as the outside lane is starting to claw back up.
Here comes Wallace, Drabik, Cruz, Eddie Smith, and James Goshen all up here on the top side, right, trying to get something going. Actually, that's Trevor McManus up there behind Eddie Smith. Goshen's actually on the bottom right behind Jake Ellingson. All these cars going by at one time. It's just a blur. You just got to try to figure out which driver it is, but these guys up front really getting it going right here. Gardner getting the shove from Mullins. Wallace still up here on the top side. Gardner has not really thought about jumping up there and blocking that top lane. He wants to try to keep it pinned down on that red and white line.
Speaking about being pinned down to that red and white line, the 25 last time by through turns number 3 and 4 got really, really loose. And look at the 99 rocketing side by side with the 42. Looks like he's going to be trying to take the lead here off 4.
He thought about trying to come down and give a little bit of a side draft to Gardner, but to no avail. Drabik give him a hell of a shove going into 3. Here comes Gardner. Still has the lead side-by-side battle with Jamie Mullins and Brandon Wallace still for that 2nd spot. Back here in the back around the Eddie Smith area, he's still in a side-by-side battle with Charles Fiskis. And Trevor McManus, we talked about him, did not even put a qualifying lap down, started 16th in the 17-truck field. Here he is up on the top side right behind Eddie Smith, still trying to hold on to the top 10. Remember, folks, no stage breaks in this, so it's 100 laps all the way to the end.
Something to keep in mind also, 1 fast repair. So that means no matter how destroyed your truck is, you can make it back to pit lane without towing, you're going to have a perfectly new truck. So something to keep in mind, some drivers may be a little bit aggressive here early out. There's a little bit of strategy with this fast repair.
Yeah, that's a very, very big thing right there to think about, Blake. Honestly, I completely forgot about that they've got a fast repair. So that right there is going to be big time. And hopefully some of these guys will not be able or not have to use that fast repair. Hopefully we can make it 100 laps clean. But, I mean, this is a super speedway, Blake. I mean, they can really, wad them up, when they need to be. But check them out. Here they go. Gardner up on the front. Still got Mullins shoving him. Here comes Kaufman down on the bottom, still trying to get the shove. And Wallace still trying to work this top side.
And Wallace is really committing to that outside lane right now. And look at most of the inside lane there, going down beneath the double yellow and red line, the white and red line. But at the same time, that's not to improve position. That's just an accidental move. I do not think that will be penalized.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, you know, it's very tight, you know, right there on that. I'm sure that, you know, some of the race officials may be taking a look at that. But, wow, look at Wallace all over the place. I mean, that truck was damn near sideways, almost up into the fence right in front of Patrick Trebek. Now Trebek's got to think about this right here, seeing this 99, who, as I mentioned, Blake, we have not seen him in many races this season in that 99. So he's got to think, you know, this is kind of a new guy right here in front of me. I want to have a shot to win this right here, but I don't know a lot about him. But I'm going to tell you, he's going to find out a lot about him as he shoves him straight into 3, gets him door to door with Gardner. And check out this 99, still all over the place as they come off of turn 4.
It's something to watch with Brandon Wallace. If he goes way up to the outside wall like that, the rest of the field's going to try to follow, and by the end of the field, some of the trucks are going to end up hitting the wall.
Gardner still has the lead. Wallace trying to hold on to it. Trebek and Alex Cruz. Remember Cruz, he's on the outside looking in as far as the playoffs go. So he's trying to see if he can get a win. Folks, what I mean by that is if he does get that win, Jake Ellingson's right there on that cut line. If Cruz can get the win here this evening, that will bump Jake Ellingson out of the playoffs, throw Cruz straight into the playoffs. So that way when we get back racing, I mean, you know, Ellingson will not be in the playoffs, but we'll see how all that plays out. Obviously, we're still way early into this thing, coming up on a quarter of the way through. And these guys are racing like it is the last lap right here, Blake.
These guys showing their skills here early out in this race. Still, like you said, only 22 laps going in the book right now, this time around out of the 100 schedule laps.
Garner and Wallace still side by side. Mullins right behind them, and then Patrick Trebek also up there on the top side. Most of these guys making it look like this is a high-speed pace lap, but with a little bit of shoving, a whole lot of shoving right there on that top side. I mean, Trebek, he is trying to work with this 99, trying to get him going. And you see, look at this 99 all over the place. Top, down to the middle, all the way back up to the top. I mean, Blake, what would be going through your mind if you're Patrick Trebek right behind this 99, just watching him go all over the place right here?
I mean, you're just trying not to hit him in the wrong spot, because you're trying to get that run for him, so you're trying to get back to his bumper as soon as you can on the back straight or on the front straight, and nearly a wreck in the back there. But you're trying to get to his bumper as soon as possible, and seeing him dodge and weave all over the track is making it a little bit more sketchy, a little bit harder for him to get to that back bumper.
Yeah, but honestly, you know, Blake, I mean, I think, honestly, him sitting there watching that, he's got to be getting a little bit nervous. I mean, shoving him like that. I mean, even after he's shoving him, I mean, just going into the corner, he's still all over the place. So obviously that's going to get to him. Wow, Wallace comes down, tries to pull a little bit of a side draft on Mullins, maybe try to pull him back.
Ooh.
But Trebek, he does not care, still shoving that 99 as they go into 3.
And right there, oh man, he's almost in the outside wall here. They're about to maybe split him as half the field kind of washed up off the bottom. And Trebek and Gardner washed up. A little bit of almost a meeting in the middle there.
I mean, these guys right here, they got a handful right here as we are right at the quarter way mark of this race, 25 laps of 100. It is still Gardner and Wallace still both battling it out for the front spot. Then Mullins and Trebek, they are right behind them. Then you got Kaufman and Brandon Evans, who won last week at Kansas. Charles Fisk is still riding in that 7th spot. And then Alex Cruz up on that top side, right door to door with Jake Ellingson. And Eddie Smith right back there still holding on to the top 10 as everybody just holding on and praying right now at this point with all the movement that's been going on throughout this field.
It's something to note that Wallace is side drafting so hard that truck on the inside, because that makes it even harder for the 0-2 to get up to his back bumper and get in that push that he so desperately needs to get that lead.
I mean, he is trying. I mean, I give him an A for effort so far at this point. I mean,
He gets a gold
Wallace,
star.
really, yeah, big time gold star. I mean, they really want to try to see if they can power down and try to get around Jeremy Garner right now, but to no avail now. Garner's going to get out to a little bit of a lead right here. Here comes Trebek, going to give him the shove. Big shove. Hits him square right in the back bumper, maybe a little bit to the right, just a little bit, but square enough where he didn't spin him right there. But Blake, with the laps, I mean, obviously it's going to get more crazier. These bumps are going to start getting more aggressive here later on in the race. I mean, that's just common sense at this point. I mean, you know that as well as everybody else knows that. These bumps that they're making, just very, very good bumps are lined up. When it gets later on in the race, those bumps might not be lined up perfectly like they are right now.
These bumps are going to turn into slams at near the halfway point and on. The thing is, with these trucks, with that new damage model, with these new rear bumpers and new front bumpers, you can practically slam the truck in front of you and not disrupt them too much. It's kind of funny. You can barely tap them, sometimes get them pretty loose, but slam and really make a lot of progress on the outside lane.
And one thing that we have not seen is some locking bumpers. We've seen a lot of that in super speedway racing. You don't really see that a whole lot at Atlanta, much like you would do at Talladega and Daytona, because the corners come up so fast. As wow, Kaufman really sideways down on the bottom, still sideways down on the bottom, almost loses it right there in front of Charles Fiskus. That's going to stack the bottom lane up, and this might be what Brandon Wallace and Patrick Trebek needed, as this whole inside lane is really starting to get disorganized. When Kaufman about lost it off of turn 4, here we go. Will Brandon Wallace be able to get the run right here?
It looks like he will, side by side for the race lead at his quarter panel. Nearly enough, but wasn't enough. Something to note, the 25 is washing up off the bottom as well. I think we're now at that point, 30 laps into this run. The tires are starting to get hot. You're starting to get a little worn out mentally. You're just locked side by side. You're not seeing any progress pretty much happen. And you're just starting to lose a little of that mental focus.
Yeah, I mean, and, honestly, Brandon Wallace may be thinking that right now, just losing that mental focus right now, because he has tried so much, and even probably Patrick Trebek probably losing a little bit of that mental focus, because he has been shoving Brandon Wallace. Wow, Wallace a little bit of a wiggle right there in 3 and 4, but, I mean, they're trying. I mean, it's like we said, you give them an A for effort. They're doing all they can, but here we go. We may see a little bit of 3 wide back here with Evans. He's thinking about jumping all the way up to the top side. Nobody up there to help him, but Evans going to jump out of line and jump right back in it. So for the first time this evening, almost seeing a little bit of 3 wide racing. They can do it here at Atlanta, but Blake, as well as I know as well as you do, that's very, very risky here early on in this win.
Exactly, especially with how narrow this track is, and it narrows up right about here. It just kind of funnels back in after that trial when that little dog leg back into turn 1. It's so hard to maintain 3x3 for at least more than 1 or 2 rows.
Garner still has it. I mean, Wallace still a little bit sideways, trying to see if he can hold on to that truck. Mr. Beck still giving him those shoves going into the corner. And Blake, I mean, you talked about these tires. You talked about how they're heating up very, very fast. Obviously, I mean, which lane would be the lanes where they're going to get hotter at? Would it be the top or would it be the bottom? Because I'm thinking it would be the top side.
I was personally thinking the bottom, because you're having to pinch that exit off so much. The truck naturally wants to run up on exit, especially off of how tight these corners are, and it's really upsetting that right front. You see the 25, how he's drifting up a little bit, then having to yank the truck back down here on exit. Watch how he has to yank the truck back down right there. Same with the truck ahead of him, and right back here again, trying to yank that truck back down. It's working the tires, getting heat, getting pressure into the tires, and wearing them out a little bit more as well.
I think it's both lanes, honestly, Blake, because, honestly, I see Kaufman down there. You talked about it, him trying to yank the truck back down there because he's getting tight. But I've been sitting there watching Brandon Wallace as he's actually clear for the lead. Will he jump down? Yes, he will. So brand new leader here at Atlanta, Brandon Wallace back to the lead. Now Trebek's going to lead this outside lane with Evans. But to your point, what I was going to say, as we got another battle for the lead. Here goes Trebek. He's going to take a shot to the outside. Really sideways. Guys trying to hold on to their trucks as Wallace almost lost it and almost slid right up into Patrick Trebek. Now Trebek drops to the bottom, up on the top side. Here comes Brandon Evans. He's going to take a shot for the lead.
Evans side by side for the race lead, even down off of turn number 4 this time around. Something interesting, whenever a new leader hops in front, you don't know how that person's going to react. So for instance now, the first time the 99 of Wallace is leading for second place on the inside line, you're not sure if he's going to run up a little bit more, pinch it a little bit more, and nearly side by side and door bang for the lead off too.
Don't use that door banging. That's my catchphrase right there, Blake. I mean, I'm just messing with you. Anyway, Brandon Evans up on the top side trying to get the shove from Alex Cruz. And, you know, Blake, what I was mentioning, like I was saying before, is before all of that happened, there's a little door banging right there with Patrick Trebek and Evans. But, I mean, you talked about Kaufman down there on the bottom, sliding up, trying to not slide up into the truck or up top of him because he was getting tight. Then you saw Wallace, he was already loose, so I think it's a tale of two factors. You get on the bottom, you're going to get tight. You get on the top side, you're going to be really, really loose because you're carrying more speed and you're being able to use that right rear to try to get that truck to turn. So, and plus you're using a lot more throttle because you're not having to get out of the gas because you got a guy up on your top side because nobody's up there. So, I think it's just a tale of two factors. It's whichever lane that you're able to drive. As wow, Eddie Smith almost gets slammed into by Joe Yates. Yates had to get out of the gas big time as Evans and Trebek still battling hard for this lead.
It's something to note. Whenever a new driver gets to the outside or the inside, you're so used to how the truck reacts on one lane or the other. You see the driver riding on board with a handful of wheels on exit of 4.
Yeah, I mean, if we could take another look at that when he goes back through 3 and 4, you'll see what I was talking about right there, Blake, because, I mean, you know, you see it right here, obviously, with guys down here on the bottom. They're looking pretty good. They're not really trying to catch the truck, but then watch this as they're up here on this top side. Watch Eddie Smith's wheel. When they go into the corner, here he goes right here. He's got it down a little bit, and then watch him. He'll have to correct it here in just a second. As he corrected it a little bit better, honestly.
He heard us. He heard
us.
us.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's got his phone or whatever right beside of him. He knows what we're talking about. And, you know, folks, I mean, you know, right here with 41 coming to the halfway point of this 100-lap race right here, got a couple of people here in the chat. Ray Ellington also chiming in saying, nice, clean racing so far here tonight. And yes, it has been very clean racing, very hard racing as we are coming to lap 42. Here we go, a little bit of slicing and dicing now. Trebek slides up a little bit. Evans still trying to get the run, and check it out. Here is Alex Cruz, that guy that we was talking about. That man is on a mission outside of the playoffs, trying to see if he can ease his way and jump up here and snag a win here at Atlanta.
In a way, it's easier to be in a must-win situation. You don't have to worry about, you know, oh, what if I finish in front of this driver or this driver? If win solves everything. It makes it so much easier on a driver's head. It makes you a little bit more aggressive on top of that. But something I want to bring up is that as we're getting closer and closer to halfway, what is the fuel mileage? When will drivers need to pit? And on top of that, the pit road here is interesting. It's a 1.5 mile super speedway. The only one we have on the circuit. Makes it incredibly hard to get on and off pit road, and you have to go on and off pit road with a pack.
And, you know, Blake, I was just fixing to mention that right there. I think that they can go around 50 laps. So right there, smack dab at the halfway point, maybe just a little bit farther. Maybe that's what these guys will be thinking about, to maybe just get a little bit farther. That way they can go ahead, have it right on the money, go ahead, make one stop, and be gone and not have to make another pit stop. But, Blake, as you mentioned right there, I mean, this isn't like Talladega or Daytona, where they've got a whole, spot down there. Wow, here we go. Wallace almost getting up into Evans, almost getting him turned. But as I mentioned, there's not a whole lot of room down there to try to see if they can get into the pits. Very narrow entrance, as you see right there as they go by it, as these guys still duking it out at the front with Trebek and Evans still trying to battle for this lead.
Something also to note around this place is that, do you want to make that pit stop a little quicker? Do you take rights or left sides? And if so, which one do you take, rights or lefts? And, you know, the The tires heat up so much around this 1.5-mile super speedway, and look at this run here on the top. My goodness, what a race we have right now.
I mean, honestly, you know, Blake, I'll put it at this point. I mean, you're sitting there saying take 2 tires or no tires. I'm thinking you're going to take 4 because Blake, if you remember, you made the call last week at Kansas. Do you take 2 tires or whatnot or whatever or what have you? You don't want to throw off the balance of the truck. So if you want to take 2 tires, it's going to throw the whole balance off. And with these guys out here shoving one another, trying to keep it straight, wow, Gardner had to get way out of the gas, almost turned that 99 right there going into turn 3. But Evan's going to be able to get the run. But Blake, back to your point, I'm thinking 4 tires right here when they go in on this pit stop.
I like how you brought up handling. My goodness, on a day like today, where it's just such a handful, yeah, you want to take 4. Especially, you don't want to upset that balance any more than it already is upset.
And, you know, honestly, the track temp is not as high as you would think. I mean, it's about 104. I mean, that, honestly, folks, I'm sure 104, that sounds hot. For a track temp, not as bad. I mean, I've seen track temps at 130 degrees. I've seen them at 135, and some of them even scorching at around 140, and I don't even know how the hell they can get that high, but they got that high. So, I mean, that's what we're looking at right here, but 104 shouldn't be too bad, as we're going to have another battle for the lead up here, and it's not going to be Trebek on the bottom. It's not going to be Alex Cruz on the bottom or Brandon Wallace down on the bottom. It's Jeremy Gardner, the 2 drivers that have the most wins, and here we go, we got a wreck. Big time going around. We got a caution. We got 3 or 4 of them spinning.
Someone took a big hit in the tri-oval.
Hard contact by numerous drivers right here, and that will bring out our first caution of the event.
And I think that was a driver checking up for pit lane, and the drivers behind might not have known. Let's see. And yeah, that looks like a driver checking up for the pit lane. You see the gap in front of him to the leader on the inside. I think that was checking for the pit lane. The 99 just did not know of Wallace.
Wow, Trebek gets slammed right there. I mean, literally, I mean, you was talking about the slamming earlier, but right there, he got nailed. He got straight up T-boned right in the back end. Mullins barely able to miss him. And then everybody else, none of these guys really end up hitting Patrick Trebek from what I'm seeing. There was a couple of other ones that took some hard licks into the outside wall. Charles Fiskus was one of them, as well as I believe Doug Ellingson was also involved as well. But a couple of guys making some hard impact. There's Doug Ellingson right there. He's just trying to check up for the wreck, and then he gets tagged from the back end. He goes down pit road trying to see if he can stop, trying to see if he can get it woed up. The wall is coming. Looks like he barely, just barely, if he did, tag the wall just a little bit. But it looks like he will be able to save that race truck. But here we go. Got some guys coming off of pit road right now. But Patrick Trebek, he dodged a little bit of a bullet, honestly, Blake. I mean, he dodged just a little bit of a bullet because obviously he got tagged in the back end from Brandon Wallace, but nobody else hit him. And usually when you get tagged and you're sitting right in the middle of the racetrack, usually you end up going end over end.
Oh, 100%. I mean, any time that you can spin on a super speedway, and like you said, not end up T-boned or upside down or in the catch fence, I think that's a good time.
That's a very good time for that. And obviously Patrick Trebek, we've seen him with a lot of speed out here this evening. As you see him right there on your screen, the 07 Patrick Trebek should be able to get back out here and get back going.
And something to note here, some of the trucks that are taking a little bit longer, I believe the 16 is still stationary in the pits. Some of these drivers might be trying to take all the optional repair without taking that fast repair and saving that for later in the race in case of the big one.
I believe that's exactly what they're thinking, and that's something also, you know, well to know because, you know, Blake, I mean, you know, obviously we've been following this series right here for the past couple of weeks, past couple of months, but a lot of series does not have that fast repair. You know, most series, you know, they have it as realistic as possible to where if you just completely knock the whole front bumper off of it and, you know, knock the spoiler off of it or you crush in the side, then you've got to, like you said, go down and try to use all the necessary tools that you have to try to get that truck or car, what have you, repaired. But these guys do have that in their back pocket, so I'm sure everybody was over there real quick clicking, taking that fast repair off. That way they didn't have to worry about it for later on here in the event. But here we go. Pace truck lights is out. Jeremy Gardner, Brandon Evans, both of these guys, they have the most wins, I guess you could say, out of everybody. Gardner with 3, Evans with 2. Evans won at Indianapolis and also won last week at Kansas. And we know Jeremy Gardner, he's won a couple of races this season. I mean, honestly, when you get past 2, it's kind of hard to keep up with it at that point. You just say he's been multiple times and he's just been out here beating the hell out of everybody. But Jeremy Gardner, Brandon Evans on the front row, Joe Yates, Alex Cruz right behind him, Jamie Mullins, Eddie Smith. That's the top 6 with Kaufman, Ellingson, and James Goshen and Brandon Wallace. That's the top 10. As here we go, we are green once again here at Atlanta. Jeremy Gardner down on the bottom. Evans absolutely no help up top. Cruz did not get a good start. So it looks like that Yates will be able to shoot by Evans right here unless Cruz can try to get up here and give him a little bit of help. And Joe Yates, who finished second last week at Kansas, he may be looking for the lead here in Atlanta, and there he goes to the top, right in front of Brandon Evans.
And you called it. The 87 of Joe Yanks to the outside, side draft, and that 39 is going to come up, give him a push here onto the tri-oval, into the front straightaway. It looks like we're having a new leader this time around.
Joe Yates is going to lead that lap, folks. He led it by 4/100ths of a second over Gardner. And, folks, that is the kind of finish that we hope we can see here tonight. Hopefully, maybe a little bit closer of a finish than that. Maybe try to beat that record back at Talladega back in the 2012 area, or 2011, I believe it was, when Dale Jr. and all of them was coming to the line. And, I mean, Jimmy Johnson barely beat him by 2/1000ths of a second. That was a fantastic finish. I was actually at that race. Hopefully we'll be able to see something like that last lap where Gardner beat Yates to the line by 4/1000ths of a second. As these guys really tied up here, starting to do a little bit extra aggressive shoving is Evans shoving Yates on the top side.
Here we go. The pushes are starting to get more aggressive. After that halfway I brought up earlier in the broadcast, pushes are going to start getting more aggressive. Drivers are going to start getting more aggressive, and everything is going to start getting inch more. The blocks are going to come faster. Everything is going to get more aggressive.
Big time shoves going on up here as Brandon Evans has not left the back bumper of Joe Yates. You got to be very, very careful with some of that shoving in the corner. You can easily spin somebody out, but Yates, he is clear. Will he drop down? Yes, he will. He'll drop down. Gardner has to get out of the gas just a little bit. Evans trying to come down, maybe pull some side draft, but all by himself clear. Is Joe Yates going to lead him another lap here at Atlanta? Maybe not. Gardner went down, got it down on the line. They may have to take a look at this, but Gardner jumps down on the bottom of the racetrack. He's going to leave Yates back up on the top side with Evans right behind him. But Blake, they may want to look at that right there because he either got forced down or he pushed his truck down on that red line to be able to try to make this pass.
Yeah, I think the officials are going to take another look at that for sure. But something to note here is that I think what makes the most difference is whoever's pushing these lines. Like, for instance, right now, the 39 of Brandon D. Evans pushing that outside lane of that 87 machine, that beautiful purple machine of Joe Yanks. That's what's going to make that lane move. The truck behind, the second truck in line, with a giant push down the back straightaway. You have to manage your temps. If you start getting a little over 280 degrees, roughly, oil or water, you're going to start getting that flashing red notification on your dashboard, and you're going to need to start getting some air to that radiator, making sure you're not going to blow up.
Folks, that right there is very possible. I've seen it numerous times where drivers just won't get off the back bumper of somebody, have that whole front end just basically covered up with no air to be able to suck in right there.
Oh, yellow.
And then they just we got a yellow on the racetrack. Wow, just out of nowhere. We're sitting here watching this hard battle up here. 25, James Kaufman is going to get involved. He is blown up. We'll take a look at it right here on the instant replay, kind of see what happens right here.
Oh,
with Kaufman. Wow, look at this. A little bit of a blinky going on back here as that's the 5, Alex Cruz. Wow, he just went straight down the track and just straight up cleaned him out.
Whoa. It looks like maybe that could have been some net code. You see how he disappears right when he starts going down the track. But regardless if he disappeared or not, it looks like he was going to make contact. Looks like the 5 and the 25, the only 2 trucks involved. Luckily, hopefully those 2 drivers both have fast repairs remaining.
And folks, check this out. I have never seen anything like that in my broadcasting career, in my iRacing career. I've never seen anything like that. But folks, I think we just saw a ghost out on the racetrack right there. When Cruz was spinning and you could not see his truck, you literally just saw tires smoke spinning around him. And literally right there, it looked like he got spun by a ghost. And then you see Cruz go back down. But watch as we see Cruz go spinning. There it is. The smoke over there on the left side. It looks like literally a ghost had spun out right there on the middle of the back straight. Sorry, folks. I get very easily amused at certain points. But unfortunately, Kaufman getting involved right here, so he will have to use that fast repairs. You see some guys jumping in right here, maybe going in and topping off. That way they ain't got to worry about maybe a green, white, checkered for later on in this event. As you see Kaufman, I'm sure he went down and got that fast repair burnt right there, so he'll be able to get him a fresh engine and get back out on the racetrack.
And you see the 5 truck with a lot of front end damage. The hood completely missing off that Chevrolet Silverado. The rear panel destroyed as well. The 18 truck with some right side damage. There's another truck I saw that got a little bit of right front damage in that crash. I couldn't tell the number. It looked like a single digit truck. Looks like he might have lost his front fender. Not sure if that was, I might have just missed something there, but might have another driver involved in that crash as well.
Joe Yates, folks, he is up here leading this bad boy. He's currently coming into tonight 8th in the playoff standings, 23 points above the cut line. Actually, he'd be 9th, right behind Jamie Mullins. As you see right there on your screen, these are the points coming into tonight. And Alex Cruz, one of those guys that we talked about, he looked like he was going to have a fantastic run tonight, but he ends up in the pits, and it did not look like that he jumped in and got a fast repair. So he looks like he will be in there for a good while. So Jamie Barkis, he is out there in that 14th spot with the playoffs right here. We'll see if Jake Ellingson, he's going back, or I believe, no, Drabick's going in. Sorry about that one, folks, but yeah, Patrick Drabick, he's going back into the pits right here. So a little bit of strategy going on everywhere, but talking about Jamie Barkis, he's sitting in that 7th spot. So we could see a little bit of playoff drama right here, Blake.
Playoff implications, as we like to say. But that is big time playoff implications here at Atlanta Superspeedway. Obviously, with this being a super speedway race and a cutoff race, a ton of drama, a ton of chaos is going to happen. It's only going to get a little bit more entertaining as we start getting closer to the end of this race.
And folks, for everybody tuning in on YouTube, Facebook, we want you to chime in, have a talk with us. Let us know your thoughts about some of this. And Ray Ellington also commenting on here that looked awesome. Well, I got to be honest with you. Yeah, it looked awesome. Hate it for the drivers. I mean, I really do hate it for the drivers getting involved, but I mean, hell, it looked awesome. I mean, it was a wreck. I mean, it is what it is. But here we go. Pace truck is off. Leave them in the hands of Joe Yates and Jeremy Gardner. Gardner does not get a good start. Yates gets a fantastic start. Evans gets maybe even a little bit better of a start, all up in the tailgate as Gardner jumps right back down to that bottom side, jumps right in front of Jamie Mullins. James Goshen back there in the 85, not able to jump down as well, but here comes Gardner. Gardner's going to take a shot. He's going to go to the top side. He's going to take a shot around Evans. Mullins with him. Here comes Gardner trying to challenge for the lead on Joe Yates.
And Gardner to the outside, side by side with the 87. The 1 truck with a big moment off of 4 had to yank that truck and save it. But the 42 of Gardner trying to take the lead here going into 1.
Gardner did not lead that lap. Yates led it as Evans able to still motor him along right here. Evans obviously talked about him 2 wins going in or coming out of the regular season, trying to make it 3. Gardner's got 3 wins, trying to make it 4. And Mullins also trying to get him a win, as well as Joe Yates and even Eddie Smith up here. All these guys comfortably in the playoffs, but they are not worried about that one bit. They want to come out here and try to get a win at Atlanta Motor Speedway or Atlanta Super Speedway, however you look at it. Joe Yates still got the lead. Gardner right behind him on that top side. Evans still shoving Joe Yates as they go into turn 3.
And something to note here, last time by through turns number 3 and 4, Joe Yanks was not fully on the red and yellow line, and this time as well, washed up a little bit in the center, but got it back down to the bottom. You have to wonder if the handling of that truck is a little bit upset.
Wow, big time dooring going on back here, a little door banging with Eddie Smith and Jeremy Gardner. They got very, very tight. Almost looked like Gardner actually got up into the fence, but Gardner still looks like he's got that truck motoring and grooving and rolling up there on the top side. Jamie Mullins still trying to give him the shove. Eddie Smith, as you talked about, he's got a handful trying to be able to hold on to that truck on the bottom side. And right behind him, here comes Jamie Marcus. He's the guy that's on the outside, looking in, trying to get into the playoffs, trying to have a shot at it right here, as we are on lap 66 of 100, trying to get to this end, as Joe Yates still has the lead.
Speaking of the 66 of Mullins, given that push here down the back straightaway, I think this is going to be one of the pushes that's going to pay off here into turns number 3 and 4. Let's see if he can get back to the back bumper here off of 4. It looks like the inside lane's going to be a little bit more connected, a little bit more in control here. Back this time by the start-finish line.
Yates still has it. Evans right behind him. Here comes Gardner. Mullins, huge shove going into turn 1. He's got Charles Fiskus right behind him. And also, we talked about Brandon Wallace, that wild card, if you will, in the field. He's up there on this top side. So those 4 drivers trying to make something work up here. This was James Goshen. It's like Patrick Trebek. He's also up there on the top side. Trevor McManus, he's actually fell off just a little bit on the field. Looks like he sees all this craziness going on. He wants no part of it. So Trevor McManus, one of those guys trying to ease back here. Maybe see a little bit of a storm brewing up here with some of these guys as Gardner and Yates still fighting it out for the lead here in Atlanta.
And Gardner momentarily had the lead into turns number 1 and 2. It's starting to get aggressive. The pushes are starting to get a lot more. You're seeing drivers wash up a little bit more, or maybe even side drafting a little bit more. Obviously, as this race is starting to draw closer to the end, you see drivers getting even closer through the tri-oval as well.
Closing in on 30 laps to go, and folks, if this was NASCAR, they would probably go to commercial, but guess what? This ain't NASCAR, so we're going to keep it live. We're going to keep it clean and hopefully keep it clean and green right here. We ain't going to no commercial. We're going to keep it going with Joe Yates still having the lead right here. Evans still tucked right up on his back bumper. Evans can't go nowhere because Gardner right on his door, and Mullins still trying to shove him. Big time door bang as Evans and Gardner get into it. Mullins almost runs over Gardner. These guys all over the place, literally leaning on one another as they come off of turn 2.
They're racing like it's 3 to go, not 30 laps to go in this race. And again, Mullins is almost side drafting the second truck in line on the inside. If you can side draft that second truck on the inside and take away the help from the 87, you're going to be able to get that outside truck to the lead.
These guys are all over the place. I mean, everybody literally in the field looking like a dart without feathers. These guys just trying to hold on to these trucks, trying to give that little bit of a shove. I mean, honestly, Blake, these guys are literally driving like they know they got a faster pair. They're just trying to see if they can go ahead and use it before this thing's all said and done.
Something to note, the 85 truck has dropped off the back of the field. I'm not sure if he's anticipating, like you said before, anticipating a crash, or if he's just, might have got the wall a little bit earlier on.
Well, I mean, he's way back there. Looks like he is actually way off the pace. I mean, he's not even got any draft, and that is very, very bad right there. I mean, it could be a good thing, especially if they pile them up right here at Atlanta. But if they keep it clean, everybody's in the draft. Everybody's running way faster than James Caution is. They'll be able to lap him big time within these 30 laps. So, I mean, honestly, I would have at least tried to keep a little bit of draft, or at least try to get somebody to go back there with me to that way that I'm not going to be in that bad of a spot. But check it out right there. There's the pit stop strategy of how everything is played out. There's the laps of when everybody went down pit road last time. And Joe Yates Still clear out here. Evans still right behind him, trying to give him the shove. Here comes that Victoria's Secret Toyota Tundra, trying to find a way on the bottom side, maybe try to get clear and jump up here in front of Jeremy Gardner for this lead, but Gardner's going to fight back. Here they go. Big time. Barkus gets into Mullins. Here goes Fiskus. Wallace goes around. Ellingson also involved. Trebek. Big crash coming off of turn 4. Literally the half the field getting caught up in this right here. Caution is on the speedway. There comes James Goshen. Perfect deal for him to not get caught up in this. Take a look at it right there as Barkus slid up into Mullins just a little bit. Then he came down, got into Fiskus. You see Brandon Wallace drivers also getting involved. There goes Patrick Trebek going down pit road, trying to see if he can save it. But Blake, we talked about it. You talked about it as well. This aggression that these guys are going to be having right here, I think it's fixing to reach its boiling point.
100%. And as we start getting closer and closer to the end of this race, I know I've already said this, but after this restart, we re-rack and restack them. It's going to get even more aggressive. The pushes from the second truck and obviously the aggression further back as these drivers are starting to realize they're not going to have a shot at the win unless they get it further up the field.
And what would you do right here, Blake? I mean, because we saw a lot of hard racing going on back there in the back. I mean, we're looking right here at about 25 laps to go right here. You see Brandon Evans, some of these other drivers going down to pit. What's your mindset? Are we going in like these guys are, or would you stay out like, say, Joe Yates, Jeremy Gardner, Eddie Smith, and Jake Ellingson? Would you stay out or would you go in?
I think it depends if I have damage. If I've got damage in this crash, I'm going to pit, try to take a look at least what I have. If I don't have a lot of damage, just go back in. I mean, for instance, right now, the truck we're riding on board with the 39. If you came in, you realize you don't have that much damage, take the tires. Why not? You're gonna already be in a hole. Might as well try to get some use out of it as well. Something also to note in this crash, there were multiple trucks involved, but no really huge hits. So I mean, most of this damage is going to be cosmetic or a little bit of aero damage, but nothing. I don't think any engine damage or anything that might affect cooling.
Well, I guess I made it sound a lot worse than what it really was, but obviously, like Ray Ellingson said, yes, it looked awesome. I'll be honest with you, it looked awesome. Seeing about 5 of them sliding around back there, but good thing about that is that nobody's really got any terminal damage, so everybody looks like they will be able to continue. Check out Patrick Trebek going back down pit road as well. Trebek barely, he almost sneaked through that right there, but ended up getting tagged late in that caution right there. And we talked about Joe Yates. We talked about him, and Blake, honestly, as we're coming to the one to go right here, see Joe Yates right there on the playoff standings. Joe's been there. I mean, he's kind of been, in a spot to win a couple of races this season. But for the most part, he's kind of just been at the back, I guess you could say. I mean, I don't want to put, or say that in any bad way about Joe. But, most of the time when we're talking about the leaders, it's Evans, it's Gardner, it's, Jake Ellingson, it's, Alex Cruz, all these other guys that's up front. Usually we don't talk about Joe Yates, so this is going to be really, really some big-time momentum for him, especially getting ready for the playoffs coming up.
And something to notice, if Joe Yates, he isn't up front a ton of the time, some of these drivers might not be used to his driving style, what his tendencies are behind the wheel or in this situation as well. So that's something to watch as, laps start winding down. The trust factor has to be pretty huge. If you look at, the winds here, 6 mile an hour winds, I wonder if that at all is upsetting some of the drivers' handlings and some of the trucks.
I think it's got a lot to do with it, honestly, because even though it's 6 miles an hour, 6 miles an hour wind, it can affect these trucks big time, especially when they're going 170 miles an hour on a 1.5 mile racetrack, honestly, Blake. So, anything, even just a little bit of wind can straight up throw them off. They just need to be happy at 15 miles an hour. But pace truck is off. Joe Yates back on the gas. Green flag is out. Gardner up on the top side. Jake Ellingson right behind him. Eddie Smith back there behind Joe Yates, trying to get these front 2 lanes going. Looks like they're actually starting to break away just a little bit as Jamie Barkus trying to see if he can make it a 5-horse race. But some of these other guys back here are just slowing up just a little bit. As Doug Ellingson, he's going to lead them back here with Kaufman trying to take a shot. But Joe Yates trying to hold on to this lead from Jeremy Gardner.
Here we go, side by side for the race lead here, coming off of 4:27 of Jake Ellingston. Now drops back down to the inside lane. You want to be on the outside lane at this point as the other field catches up. Now you want to have that track position coming now, only with 23 to go, coming back to 22 next time by. And so we go looking to the outside is Eddie Smith in that lone Toyota Tundra TRD Pro.
And here comes Gardner. He's going to come up, give him a huge shove. Shoves him all the way to the lead, but not clear as Joe Yates still down there on the bottom side. Eddie Smith tries to come down, give him a little bit of a side draft. Here comes Jake Ellingson right behind Yates, trying to give him the shove. As here comes Jamie Barkus still up here trying to fight his way to try to get himself in a good spot going into the playoffs. These guys basically racing like this for the championship here tonight at Atlanta, and we still got 20 laps to go left in the regular season.
My goodness, this is absolutely incredible racing. We saw it last week in Kansas. We're seeing it this weekend here at Atlanta. Doesn't matter where these trucks are, they're going to put on an amazing show in this series.
21 laps to go. Sorry about the 20, but close enough right there. 21 laps to go, and Eddie Smith in the Victoria's Secret Toyota Tundra back to the front. Joe Yates down on the bottom trying to fight it out with Jeremy Gardner. Jake Ellingson in a side-by-side battle with Jamie Barkus. And check it out. Looks like it's the father-son duo right here as Jacob and Doug may have found one another. These two may be trying to work together and maybe try to jump up here and challenge for this lead. But Eddie Smith still holding on to it with Gardner to his outside, Joe Yates and Jamie Barkus in that second row.
And something to note, we haven't seen as they're getting really, really close here off the turn 2. We haven't seen the leader jump up and block all that much tonight. I'm thinking that's going to change here now with 20 to go.
Oh yeah, they're going to start blocking. Everything's thrown out the door. I mean, honestly, these guys, they talked about it, a couple of weeks ago, that these guys race like a family, but hey, it's for a win. It's here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. These guys, they're going to do whatever they got to do. If they got to throw a block, it is what it is. Here goes Yates, slides up into Barkus. All of it going on right in front of Jake Ellingson and James Kaufman as everybody's still trying to wrestle for real estate. Here comes Gardner. He's got a shot. He's going to take it to the lead. Barkus going to shove him. Here comes Eddie Smith back down on the bottom side trying to fight for this lead.
And that 87 has been ridiculously loose since that restart. After that heat cycle has been in these tires, looks like he's going to make that one truck lose the lead this time around with him not on the back bumper on it.
Big time shove down on the bottom side. Eddie Smith trying to hold on to that truck as much as he possibly can. Joe Yates all over the place still trying to shove Eddie Smith as Gardner gets a huge shove from Barkus. Right behind him, you got James Kaufman. You got Brandon Evans up there on the top side. You got Jake Ellingson. You got Patrick Trebek, Doug Ellingson. Doug Ellingson, who really would love to have a fantastic finish here this evening at Atlanta. All these guys battling really hard inside the top 10, still having a shot for the win. Here's Eddie Smith, still down on the bottom. Gardner and him still fighting it out for the lead off 2.
Down the back straight we go. Looks like the driver looking to the outside. A third lane might start be developing here with the 39 contact. Around goes the 15 to 25 involved. Multiple trucks involved here. Looks like 3 or 4 trucks, more trucks crashing to the inside of the pit lane. And caution is out with about 19, 18 laps to go. This changes everything.
All hell breaks loose just a little bit earlier than what I thought it was going to do. Honestly, Blake, checked it out right there live as Blake, you called it right there. Like Barkus maybe just got a little bit of a love tap from Joe Yates. Yates might have slid right up into him. Little bit of net code, I will give him that, but Yates was coming up into the door. Kaufman gets involved. Evans was actually trying to start the third lane. Well, the wreck ended up happening in the third lane where he was at. So unfortunate for Evans. Hopefully some of these guys may have a faster pair to be able to get back in this, because as you mentioned, we still got around 15 laps to go when they get back green. Check it out once again. You see Yates in the 87. You see Barkus up there on the top. Eddie Smith and Gardner still leads. Jake Ellison, Kaufman, Evans, all these guys back here. Watch as they go into turn 3. Yeah, Yakes was coming up. There was a little bit of netcode between him and Barkus. And then Kaufman, he's trying to get out of the gas. He's trying to find a way around. Evans gets sent into the fence. Then Barkus goes around. Doug Ellingson, that is, he actually gets into Jake just a little bit after he got into Barkus. But looks like both of them will be able to sneak by ever so slightly and maybe continue. Then Drabek and then Goshen get involved. I mean, that's just typical. That's just typical at what a mile and a half super speedway can produce right there, Blake.
Oh, 100%. And with how easy it is to lose track of your nose and where you are relative to the truck in front of you, when you're pushing that hard, as Joe Yakes was doing, it's so easy to lose track of where that inside is. And obviously, this is the result. Sadly, he was up the track a little bit the past 3 or 4 laps since that restart. I'm not sure if the heat cycle in the tires really upset the handling of that truck, or something obviously made that truck go up the track a lot more than it did last run.
Well, Eddie Smith, we've talked a lot about him, and he's done a lot of great things since we've been over here with broadcasting for the Jam Printing and Promotions Truck Series with the Goat Locker Racing Series. He's done a lot of great things, but the one thing that we've seen him do the past 2 weeks, and Blake, you have just came in, started in the broadcast last week. I think he might be his good luck charm just a little bit. I mean, I hate to put the commentator's curse on him, and I hope I don't, but he started qualifying for the first time last week when you started broadcasting. So there might be a little bit of a trend going on right there, Blake, don't you think?
There possibly could be. I mean, you start looking at different trends throughout the season, and racers are superstitious. Let's be honest. If you can find something that starts working, you start doing it more and more week in and week out.
Check out some of this right here. You got some of these guys back here in the back. They did decide to go in and get some tires. So this is where it's going to get really good right here. And Blake, we talked about how the handling is going to be crazy here at Atlanta. We talked about it, but we've seen it. Saw it right there with Joe Yakes when he slid up into Barkus and sent him around. So you see some of these guys been out here on these tires for a good while. Gardner's been out there. Smith's been out there. Evans, also Yakes. A lot of these drivers been out here on some older tires. A bunch of these guys back here on the back got a little bit of fresh rubber. We'll see how this plays out for later on right here, coming around right here, as it will be about 13 laps to go. Pace truck is off. Eddie Smith, Jeremy Gardner, Joe Yakes, Brandon Evans, Patrick Trebek. That's the top 5 as the green flag flies. Eddie Smith gets a pretty good jump. Gardner actually gets a very good jump as well. Evans all up in the back bumper of Jeremy Gardner, trying to shove him around. Eddie Smith on the top side. Joe Yakes trying to get back to Eddie Smith and maybe try to help him on the bottom.
It's something I want to bring up. The 39 of Evans has the freshest tires out of nearly everyone up here in this lead pack, and that's something I'm going to want to watch here. How much more aggressive can he be? And if he needs to make that third lane work, he has the grip. He has that extra confidence in this truck, in this race truck, this Chevy Silverado, to make that work.
Evans is really showing it pretty good too. I mean, you saw it right there. Gardner actually slipped just a little bit. Evans nowhere near slipping, just being able to keep that truck as straight as he possibly can. Very, very tight between Gardner and Evans as they come down very tight on Eddie Smith and Joe Yakes' door. Really, I mean, almost door banging just a little bit, but getting as much side draft as they can. Basically, both of them all by themselves up here on the top. Kaufman way back there in the back, not able to get to him as these two trucks trying to make it work all by themselves. Gardner and and Brandon Evans. Too many Eddies and Evanses up here with Gardner and Evans on the top side, still trying to fight for it up here for the lead.
And finally, Trevor decides to join that outside lane. I was wondering why no one in the back was assigned to. Whoa, as the 87 washes up once more on the 39. Nearly gets into that right rear quarter panel. That left rear quarter panel, my bad. But I'm just watching here. These drivers further back, why not take that outside lane? You need track position. You need to be up here coming back to 10 laps to go. You need the track position to make something happen at the end of this race.
They might be playing a little bit of a possum, and they may be thinking that there might be another big one up here at the front. But Gardner, he's going to get clear. Evans all the way right behind him. Trevor McManus talked about him in that 9. He has been basically a non-factor in this race until this moment right here, coming to 9 laps to go. Up on the top side, here we go. Got Barkus. Barkus going to jump up to the top. He sees that. He's going to jump up here, try to get something going. Kaufman back here, still trying to roll on this top side. Got Jake Ellingson still trying to give him a shove. Shoves him too hard straight into Doug Ellingson. We got a big crash back here off of turn 2. Big pileup. Kaufman's involved. Both the Ellingsons are involved. Wow, I mean, Henny, I believe he was involved as well. Big time pileup with just a little bit too much of a push. You see it right there. Jake Ellingson gets into Kaufman right here. There's Doug Ellingson, goes hard into the inside wall. Then you see Fiskus back here. You see Brandon Wallace, a bunch of drivers getting involved right here. And that's just going to be, I mean, that's just a racing incident. That's just too much throttle, getting up behind somebody, tagging them and sending them around.
It looks like the 25 here. Did he come down? Did the 58 come up? It's hard to tell here. There we go. Let's take a look here. What ended up causing this wreck? Looks like maybe a little loose on exit. Did the 27 help the 25 get loose on exit? Looks like just a little bit. And it's where the truck is light off the exit of the corner. It's just racing deal here. You know, you're pushing so hard, trying to help that truck in front of you. Like I said, it's desperation hours here. You're trying to get that track position, and sadly, you're the caution here.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's like you said, it's just a racing incident. I mean, it is what it is. You see right there, I believe that is James Kaufman. That's the second time that he's blue engine tonight, so I'm sure that the engine bill will be catastrophic for him at this point, having to blow 2 engines in one race. You see Doug Ellison still down on pit road. There's the 57, Daniel Kikeel. He's been down, or he is 2 laps down. Doug Ellison down 1 lap. So if we do get a crazy caution right here, he'll be able to jump back up in this battle right here. But there you see the playoff standings right there. And honestly, I mean, I really don't see anything crazy, Blake, changing right here. I think everything looks like that it's probably going to be in maybe just a little bit craziness with the likes of Jamie Barkus. He's the only guy that could really turn this thing around. Everybody else, I mean, if we have a return winner or somebody that's already up inside that top 12, it's the same way. I mean, it's the same way that we got right there going in. So Barkus is the one that can change this whole thing. Right there in the 15, started 13th, and he's running in 6th right now. So 1 spot outside the top 5, right behind Trevor McManus. Barkus can turn this race over on its head, honestly, Blake.
And something to note with Barkus, he ran over 65 laps in practice. So he knows how these tires are going to fall off. He knows exactly what to expect here. I think he's a shoe-in here for hopefully maybe making a run here for the playoffs.
Yeah, and he's got some fresh boots right there too. Right there, Blake. Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, he's got some fresh boots right there up under that bad boy. So he's got to be kicking as much as he possibly can with those fresh boots because he knows what's at stake right here, Blake. And, I mean, he's just got to go for it at this point. Coming around right here, it's going to be 5 laps to go when they take the green. And with very, very fresh shoes up under that number 15 truck, it's going to be hard to beat him right here. But you got some other guys up here, Gardner, Smith, Evans, Joe Yates, Trevor McManus, all these guys comfortably in the playoffs right now. Barkus isn't. He's going to be hungry. He wants to try to get this win and get himself in this bad boy.
And something to note, this race is going to be won based on that second row. It looks like that second row this time is going to be the 39 and the 87. The 87, as I've been documenting throughout this race, has been pretty loose on this run, on this stint of tires. The 39 has been up front all race along. So I'm thinking the truck on the inside looks like the 42 truck. He's going to have pretty good help here in the 39.
Garner and Eddie Smith on the front row. Brandon Evans going to be right there on the bottom side, as Blake mentioned. Joe Yates right on his outside. Trevor McManus down on the bottom. Jamie Barkus talked about what he needs to do. Patrick Drabick Jamie Mullins, Kermit Hemme, and then you got James Goshen, all of them inside the top 10 as we are green flag once again. Garner gets a huge shove from Evans on the bottom side. Eddie Smith trying to get that shove from Joe Yates on the top as it is fixing to get down and dirty here on the Dirty South here in Atlanta. Jeremy Gardner with the lead. Evans right behind him. Will Evans jump up? Yes, he will. He jumps up. Garner thought about making the block. Here comes Eddie Smith trying to give Brandon Evans the shove in 3.
And here we go. It's about to start getting crazy here in Atlanta. Side by side for second position here, the 39, and here comes the block. The block, contact. Do they all save it? They do for now. What a race here back into turn number 1.
Wow, I mean, I'm telling you, Evans may have given Gardner just a little bit of slack right there. But I'm going to tell you right now, that leash is very, very short after what just happened. Here we go. Trevor McManus jumps down 3 wide up front. Gardner's going to get stuck in the middle. Evans all the way to the top, getting the help from Eddie Smith. That is going to stall him out big time as Trevor McManus is going to get away with the race lead. Patrick Drabick going to be right behind him, still 3 wide for that 3rd spot.
Something to note right here is one of the pinch stones here where the track, and there it is.
Oh!
Into the wall, hard, big hit, yellow flag comes out, we're going to overtime.
And Jamie Barkus also gets involved. He was actually the one that got hooked from Eddie Smith. Wow, as you see Barkus sliding backwards right there, Eddie Smith also getting involved. And they was looking even 4 wide. Check this out, folks. Looking 4 wide going into 1. Smith comes down just a little bit. You could call Barkus coming up just a little bit, but heavy impact head on into the wall. Eddie Smith gets involved. Barkus gets involved. Looks like those are the only 2 trucks that get involved in this accident. Wow, I mean, they're right there, folks. That might have been Jamie Barkus's playoff hopes going down the drain just like that.
And it's that quickly, especially with the super speedway, your playoff hopes can disappear in an instant, especially with how quick everything happens here on a super speedway.
And I'm actually going back and looking just a little bit right here. And I mean, that's like we've said numerous times, Blake. I mean, these are racing incidents. I mean, you see it right there. Barkus came up. There's a little bit of net code, but sometimes you can't really blame everything on net code. But that right there, that was just tight racing right there. I mean, Barkus was trying to find a way to try to get around the guy that was in front of him. He was trying to find a way to get around. I believe that was, I'm trying to figure out exactly who that was in front of him right there. There we go. Got the 18 that was in front of him. He was trying to get around him. So, I mean, you see it right there. Here goes Eddie Smith. He's going to come down, and then here he goes, tries to make it, looking 4 wide right there. But then he thinks he's got a little bit of room to jump up. Smith was right there stuck in the middle. But, I mean, Blake, I mean, what are you thinking right here? Because I think they actually came together, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. It's just meeting in the middle. They both wanted that middle line. If we can go back and look at that one more time, I believe the 15 was the one on the bottom and was just trying to get back up to the middle lane, and the 1 was up top. Yeah, it was the one that was up top, and the 15. They were both just met in the middle, both wanting that middle line, seeing more potential in the middle line behind the 42. And that's just, real life spotters could have helped a lot in that situation, but with the iRacing spotter, it's so hard to call that.
That was not the 18 that was on the bottom. That was the 16. That was Kermit Henne on the bottom side. But, I mean, he was just trying to hold on to it, just trying to see if he could make it all the way to the end. But, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, he didn't get involved in the accident by no means. But we'll see how all this plays out right here. Is Trevor McManus, we talked about him in the 9, not really been a factor this whole race, really. He's just rode at the back, took his time, didn't have to worry about nothing, as we are going to a green, white, checkered 1 of 2 attempts here at Atlanta. So Trevor up front, he's where he needs to be at the right time. Patrick Drabick, saw him get caught up in a couple of accidents. Now here he is sitting in the 2nd spot. Gardner, I'm sure he's tickled to death that this caution come out, because he was stuck right in the middle, 3 wide. And Evans, honestly, I'm sure he's pretty, happy to see the caution come out, because, the top side was fixing to die off, and he was stuck up on the top. Everything was fixing to die off right there. So now they're able to re-rack and get another shot at this. But Trevor McManus is going to lead them back to the green. Patrick Drabek going to be second. Garner and Evans, as I mentioned, third and fourth. Brandon Wallace will be fifth. Joe Yates sixth. Charles Fisk is seventh. James Goshen eighth. Jamie Mullins will be ninth. Eddie Smith able to get back in there, had a fast repair and able to burn it right here. So he will be 10th. It looks like that's the only trucks that is on the lead lap. So we'll see how this one pans out here in Atlanta. And folks, if you are still with us, we appreciate you joining us. Jake Reeves, Blake Lothian with Dean Hopton up in the booth. Like I said a while ago, it's fixing to get down and dirty in the dirty South. Pace truck pulls off. Gonna leave him in the hands of Trevor McManus. As here we go, as they're trying to get into that restart zone. Barney the flagman getting ready to wave that flag, and we are green once again as Trevor McManus, Patrick Trebek, gonna lead them off into turn number one.
And look at how formed up that outside lane is. 3 trucks nearly nose to tail on that outside lane. I'm going to be watching them here off turn number 2.
They are absolutely digging right now, and Trevor McManus getting all he can get from Jeremy Gardner. Here comes Patrick Trebek. He's going to get the shove on the top side. Evans all up in the back bumper of him. Joe Yates also back here, as well as Brandon Wallace. Everybody trying to hold it as best they can. Here they come to the white flag. Trebek almost gets up into Jeremy Gardner down on the bottom side. Trevor McManus trying to hold on, trying to get him a win here at Atlanta. Gardner all up in the back bumper, trying to see if he can shove him and maybe get clear. Gardner jumps to the top. McManus tries to jump up and block and almost gets spun. Trebek slams McManus going into turn number 3. McManus may have this bad boy in the bag unless something crazy happens. Trevor McManus coming off of turn number 4. Gardner's going to get one last shot at it, but it's not going to be enough. Trevor McManus getting the win at Atlanta Motor Speedway. My gosh, what a hell of a race, honestly, Blake.
What a finish, what a race. Trevor McManus got so loose on, I believe it was the exit of 4. Watch this, on the exit of 4, gets so loose. I thought he lost it, or maybe it was off of 2. He got extremely loose at one and the other. Here's the run back to the checker. What a race, what a finish. This series just always puts on amazing action no matter what track we're at.
I mean, they done it clean and they done it green right there, Blake, and that's exactly what you want to get right there, as you mentioned it right here, talking about Trevor right here. Check
right
it
there,
out.
that
Wow.
big wiggle. I thought right there he was losing it. I really did think that right there he was going to lose the race, but man, kept it together, got a whole wheel of opposite lock in it, and everyone was able to keep it clean to the line. That's impressive.
And McManus is burning it down on the front straightaway. Number 9 getting the win here this evening. Fantastic job by Trevor. And Trevor usually, I mean, he played that strategy that, you know, that I used to play, honestly, Blake. Just ride at the back and just let the wreck happen. But, I mean, and he made it work. I mean, now I don't do that no more because I usually get caught up at them. I usually drive into them, so I just try to stay at the front. But Trevor using a little strategy that a NASCAR legend would do, and that was Dale Jarrett. Always wanted to ride at the back, not be up there in the middle of all the craziness going on. So TM doing what DJ would do back in the day, and he gets the win here this evening. As we mentioned, Trevor McManus getting the win. Jeremy Gardner getting second. Patrick Trebek gets third. Evans gets fourth. Brandon Wallace will get that top 5, and Joe Yates will get 6th, with Charles Fisk is 7th. Eddie Smith will get 8th. Jamie Mullins 9th. James Goshen will round out the top 10. The rest of the drivers, Kermit Henney will get 11th, with Jamie Barkus in 12th. Unfortunate for him, he needed a win here this evening. Doesn't look like he's going to get it, finishing 12th. Daniel Kikio will get 13th. Jake Ellingson, who had some very bright moments in this race, getting 14th. Kaufman, or James Kaufman, that is, will get 15th. Unfortunate for him, starting 3rd and finishing 15th, but Doug Ellingson will get 16th, with Alex Cruz, also one of those guys needing to get a win and get in, not able to do it. He will finish 17th, the last driver to take a time tonight. But we're going to round up all these guys, try to round up the 1, 2, 3 finishers, try to bring them in here and try to see if we can have a little talk with them here in just a second. We'll go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere. Whenever you are. And we are back live here with the Jam Printing and Promotions Truck Series. Trevor McManus getting the win as we called it off just a second ago. And we will bring in the race winner, see if we can have a little chat with Trevor McManus. And Trevor, wow, I mean, I mentioned it, just a second ago after you took the checkered flag that it looked like you kind of threw it back to the old days just a little bit, like Dale Jarrett would always be the driver to always just ride at the back and try to let them all crash and then be there at the end. Looks like that strategy paid off for you. Congratulations. Tell us about your race.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's kind of what I wanted to do. I knew I just had to get a good finish today to get it into the playoffs, so I hate this track. NASCAR ruined it when they repaved it. I still hate this track even though I won. But yeah, just somehow I made it to the front. Was like, hey, how? Told my teammates, how'd this happen? Like, I don't understand what's going on. So, luckily, I got a huge shot from Pat. Love him. Appreciate him so much for doing that. It's the only way I want it. So, yeah, I don't know. Just cards fell right tonight, I guess.
It just happened. That's the way to look at it. And Trevor, I mean, yeah, you get the win, obviously locked into the playoffs, all that good stuff. But here we go, getting ready for some of this crazy stuff for you. Check this out right here. Here is the schedule that y'all are going to have to deal with for 3 races: Wilkesboro,
Love it.
Darlington, Las
Love it.
Vegas.
And
Yep.
love it.
Well, all right, then that answered my question right there.
Yep.
Then
I can't wait. I really can't. I feel like I will make it at least into the round of 8. Darlington is a very good track for me. It suits my style. As long as we can just stay out of trouble at Darlington, I think I'll have a really good race for the top guys: Brandon, Pat, Eddie, Jeremy. I feel like it could come down to us 5. Really, is who I think is going to be the top 5 in the league. Is those guys, and I can run with them every week. So I've stayed with Jeremy Gardner when no one else could, and that was a big momentum shot for me.
Trevor McManus getting the win here tonight at Atlanta, getting ready for that little bit of a playoff push. And this is when you need to get the win, Trevor. And Trevor, before we let you go, have you got anybody that you want to thank that made this possible?
Yeah, I want to thank my wife for supporting me. Thank you guys for coming out and broadcasting for us, taking your time. Thanks all the veterans for serving for us, protecting our freedoms, the first responders for keeping us safe if something happens. my family for supporting me and watching, and always watching even if it's not live. And you know, again, my smoking hot wife. I can't do this without her.
Always got to love the smoking hot wife for Trevor McManus getting the win tonight. Congratulations on the win. Have a great Thanksgiving. Hopefully, we'll
Hey,
talk to
thanks, you
you in
too.
North Wilkesboro.
Yep, thanks, Jacob.
That was Trevor McManus getting the win here tonight. And I mean, put on a fantastic race, but we're going to pull in this second place finisher. Blake, have you caught up with Jeremy Garner?
I have Jeremy Gardner. What more did you need to get that win there tonight?
More push on the backstretch for sure. I was hoping Trebek would go with me, but he made his move. I think if Brandon was on me just a little bit sooner, that me and Trevor would have been nose to nose at the finish line.
Gotcha. And then I got to ask, way earlier back in the race, when roughly around halfway, when y'all were getting ready to make that green flag pit stop, what was your strategy? Was your strategy to pit with that first group, second group? What was your original strategy before that yellow?
I was gonna wait for the second group. I wasn't gonna go with the first group, and then luckily I stayed out because I think I was gonna pit 1 or 2 laps after, and then Trebek just got drilled from behind getting on pit road. So
Gotcha.
obviously I stayed out.
It seems like that was obviously the right call to make.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know. That's probably the cleanest Atlanta race I've ever been in. Normally I get in those races and I just get absolutely totaled. So for the most part, the race went way better than I expected. I mean, everybody was running pretty clean. Obviously on the front stretch it gets a little sketchy with running door to door, but my expectations are blown out of the water right now.
That was definitely a great race. Who are some people you'd like to thank?
Just shout out to the league. They put on a great league week in and week out, and appreciate the broadcast. They do a great job every single week, and that's about it.
Of course, that was Jeremy Gardner, our second place finisher tonight. I believe you've caught up with our third place finisher, Patrick.
Yeah, I'm checking out. I'm catching up with Patrick Trebek, and Pat. I mean, wow. I mean that race right there. I mean, Jeremy Garner. We just had him in there in the booth,
Yeah.
and Jeremy, he said that was one of the cleanest Atlanta races that he's ever really been a part of. I mean, your take of the event.
I'd have to agree with him, man. I mean, that was some outstanding racing. I mean, door to door all night long. Those trucks got really loose in the latter part of the run. So guys chasing it all night long and still keeping it together. I mean, it was that was impressive.
And I mean, Blake was talking about it right there a while ago or actually just a second ago with Jeremy Garner about when you went into pit right there at the halfway point. I'm sure you don't even want to talk about it, but we'll go ahead and see if we can just dive into it just a little bit right here because I mean, did everybody know you was pitting or was it just bad timing on what it was? I mean, what the hell happened right there? Because you got nailed.
I did. I definitely did. No, me and the team had decided we were going to kind of, I'm going to say, quote unquote, short pit it a little bit. With the way the fuel situation was working, you could easily go past halfway, but we said lap 48. Let's come early. Let's get together. Let's go. So the minute I hit the backstretch, I just started calling out 07 pitting, 07 pitting, because I was at the front of the pack and I knew it was going to clog some things up. And I don't know, man. Brandon Wallace was behind me. We talked a little bit after the race. He thought I was going to be a little bit lower on the track. I'm not real sure, and he just kind of cleaned me out there.
And you just actually talked about Brandon Wallace. I mean, to be honest with you, Patrick, I mean, honestly, I think this is the first race that he's raced this season, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right or am I wrong on that?
Nah, he pokes his head around every now and again, usually a lot of the super speedway racing and things like that. So he's an old friend, raced with him in a few different leagues. His league and my league are kind of like sister leagues, man. Brandon Wallace is a great guy.
10-4.
Until he wrecks you when you're trying to pit.
That sounds like it right there. That sounds like anybody at that point. But Patrick Trebek getting the third place finish tonight. And Pat, before we let you go, have you got anybody that you want to thank that made this possible?
Well, obviously, my sponsor, Jam Printing and Promotions, it's their 10-year anniversary this year, which is super, super awesome. They do all the swag for Goat Locker, the shirts, the hats. Many of the guys in the leagues has the hats, so it's awesome. And then just a big, shout out to Goat Locker in general. We've come a long way this year. We are a 501c3 public charity. We've found some great sponsorship, able to raise a lot of funds so we can continue to give back to veterans and first responders and those that come into this league. So check us out, www.goatlockerracing.org. If you want to mash the donate button and help, we're out here trying to help our nation's heroes, warriors, and first responders.
100% behind that. Well, Patrick, congratulations on the podium finish. Have a fantastic Thanksgiving. We'll see you at North Wilkesboro.
See you, brother.
That was Patrick Drebeck. And Blake, you had it all right here in this race. You had everything that you could really ask for. I mean, you had, hard racing. You saw a little bit of 3-wide racing, saw a little door banging, saw a lot of accidents, I guess you could say, guys going straight into the fence, guys almost flipping their trucks. But your take of the race here this evening.
Definitely was an entertaining race. We were almost out of that green flag pit action, but sadly that was cut quite short. But obviously had a little bit of 3-wide, like you mentioned, had a little bit of everything again throughout tonight, just like Kansas. It was an amazing show, a great finish. We had a big wrecks, we had a little bit of everything tonight.
I mean, we had it all, and that is what Atlanta Motor Speedway is. And we talked. I mean, obviously, to Trevor, and Trevor said, "Well, I'm not a big fan of this particular layout of the track. I prefer the old layout." What's your take? Which one are you, for? Do you like the new one or do you like the old one? I'm not real sure. I mean, I don't think I asked you before on it, but if I did, my apologies, folks. But what's your take? You like old or you like new?
I can't help but be right in the middle. I haven't been on either yet before. I've heard some pretty cool stories about Xfinity cars, showing black lines getting on the throttle at Atlanta. It sounds like old Atlanta seems like it's an amazing track, to say the absolute least. But this new Atlanta creates a new style of racing, a new type of entertainment, and obviously it brought out a lot of fans, and it's helping this racetrack stay alive. So obviously they had to repave this racetrack, and I think it's an interesting change. It'll be interesting to see how the pavement will change throughout time.
Absolutely. Well, Atlanta Motor Speedway once again did not deny the fans of entertainment tonight. Trevor McManus will get the win here this evening. Now, folks, we will not be on the air next Thursday because of Thanksgiving, obviously, so everybody be able to go out, go celebrate with your families, your loved ones, everybody, friends, and wherever you need to be with your family and be thankful for what you have, because I can guarantee you right now, I am very 100% thankful for everything that I have, and hopefully you are too. So enjoy your Thanksgiving next Thursday night. It's right after that, November the 30th, we will be live at 9 o'clock on Thursday for the Jam Printing and Promotions Truck Series with the Goat Locker Racing Series. It's going to be a good one at North Wilkesboro. Everybody have a good Thanksgiving. My name is Jake Reeves with Blake Lothian and Dean Hopton on the controls. Thanks to everybody, all our sponsors, Custom Classics, Veterans for Life Foundation, all the sponsors, the Nazareth 360 Racing Network with Brady LaBeouf and Cody Knott. We want to thank them all. And also, everybody, congratulate Trevor McManus on the win here at Atlanta. Everybody be safe. We'll see you in 2 weeks.